go vagina, go vagina, go vagina, go vagina, go vagina, go
Okay, there we go. Kind of feels like an internal monologue in my head. So I have many personal reasons for taking a stand and becoming involved in V-Day. But these can wait until I have more time, or if you want to talk to me after. Today I want to address a very pressing question for me. How do we highlight the pervasiveness of a patriarchal culture of normalized violence without undermining personal responsibility in every single count of sexual violence? This question is at the heart of so many arguments I've had about Slut Walk this past year, even with those who I feel are allies. It would be wonderful, they say, if the culture was such that all spaces were safe. But until then, men growing up in patriarchy will act a certain way, and women need to know what they're walking into. This is what I hear a lot. In other words, the defense is possible that I didn't mean to rape anyone. The patriarchy made me do it. On occasion, I've even found myself slipping into this all too easy undermining of personal responsibility. So this event provides an opportunity to try to come to terms with this dialectic. So Slut Walk talks a lot about personal choice. I wanted now to tell two brief stories of the subtle way in which patriarchy pervades the thoughts and limits the choices of so many, even those who would consider educated and even privileged. First, an encounter on Richmond Row. Standing next to a woman in line in December, who was wearing next to nothing and shivering, I inquired as to whether she might be warmer with a coat. Her response, "Yeah, it sucks to be a girl sometimes." We talk here of a woman's right to dress however she wants, yet the social and cultural constraints of patriarchy had so affected this woman that she couldn't even imagine not choosing to wear that, and even before setting foot in the bar, she was already having violence wreaked on her shivering body. The other story was told to me a couple weeks ago by a very good friend of mine who had been following my work with V-Day this year as an actor in Purple Sex and MMRP. He was talking to a couple women about a mutual friend, and while he had thought that the person was an all-right guy, so he said, it came up that this person doesn't take no for an answer. My friend replied, in his mind innocuously, "Did you tell him that you had a boyfriend?" She said, "No." But I said no. Blasting a hole in his understanding that women's struggles were now mostly over. Patriarchy was so pervasive in his own mind that he had still assumed it to be a reasonable social norm that a woman's body, unless claimed by another man, was a man's right to exploit. This shocked him, and he became, he said, a feminist then and there. But still, this was a long process of priming before this moment was even possible. I also grew up a fish swimming in patriarchy, and it's taken a lot of time, experience, luck meeting the right people to dare to even think of evolving and moving on to a strange new land where my old referents aren't there for familiarity. How do I affirm both female and male sexuality in their beauty when in our current culture both are constrained and perverted by violence? How do I especially affirm male sexuality when its expression is so often violent and oppressive, even when both parties ostensibly consent to the acts under a violent and perverse cultural norm? It is clear to me that men's and women's liberation are tied together, and that we must work both together and separately to end the oppression. So, back to the initial question. We ignore the deep embeddedness and the nuance of the culture of patriarchal violence at our peril. This is not to say that each and every person who commits an act of sexual violence should not be held to personal account, but that we need to acknowledge the different stages people are at in their journeys of shedding this oppressive culture. We need wrecking balls like Slut Walk. Yes? But also the fine tools of disrupting the more nuanced discourse in a more gentle way to help those at different points on their journey along. This is why I became involved in V-Day. This is why I love the theatrical and storytelling approach. And my monologue in MMRP this year gave me one of the best expressions I have of where I stand and where I want to go. Now that I am able to love, I can say what men do without hating myself for it and without mistaking my power for violence. The tenderness of wolves, they call it. This is the tenderness men can give women. This is the story when shame finally ends. Thank you.
Trinity, I'm speaking to you on behalf of the Amazon Collective today. So last year, the Amazon Collective, in partnership with V-Day Western, was the very first satellite slut walk on Turtle Island after we said enough. We are tired of the age-old social rhetoric that victims and survivors of sexual assault or harassment are the ones to blame, that we are asking for it. And this year, we are taking it one step further and saying not only will we not be blamed for violence put upon us, our sexuality is healthy, and it is our right. And we will celebrate without apology, without toning it down. Slut, puta, shamuta, gende, abe, no matter what language you say it in, for too long has this word been used as a weapon to silence us, to make us afraid, to make us ashamed of our bodies and our sexualities. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers have been speaking out against this. It's time to join together, to unite and speak out, to act up, to use every available tactic possible to create this shift in our community. It is time to confront this word. What is slut? It's used to mean a servant girl. It's the woman who disproportionately comprised domestic labor and caretaker positions in the labor market and in the home. Like the woman who was cleaning former IMF leader Dominique Strauss's hotel room, who didn't expect sexual assault to be part of the job description. And for all the women like her who were not able to get support from their communities, their unions, their workplaces, their families to stand up to on-the-job harassment and assault that they face every single day. It's used to mean dirty, untidy, sloppy woman. Like what a senator referred to undocumented female refugees as, saying that they deserved it. Because women who are immigrants, who are refugees, are exotified because of their accents, their skin colors, their cultural identities, and their heritage. And they're always expected to say yes and want it, whether they're sexy Latinas, exotic Caribbean woman, or mysterious Asian woman. The word slut gets flung at women who stand up for themselves. We have seen how the criminal justice system lets off perpetrators, how they walk through restraining orders. We're seeing how the government is treating women in our country, scrapping the gun registry established after the December 6th massacre aimed at women, without listening to the voices crying out, reminding them that, hey, that registry reduced domestic violence murders with a long gun by 65%. They're Indigenous women. Over 600 of them who are missing because the government consistently shows they do not care about the lands that they have taken, the treaties they have broken, far less the value and the worth of the Indigenous woman in our country. We see how the Tory MPs consistently try to reopen the abortion debate, most recently with Bill C-13. We refuse to go back to the time of coat hangers and back alley abortions. We need to stop shaming people over the correct way to dress, speak, needing to be a certain demographic or have a certain agenda in order to have our fury over sexual violence heard. No matter how many people we sleep with, who we choose to sleep with, the ways in which we decide to have sex consensually, we are beautiful, we are priceless, we are of value. Just 14 days ago, at the end of April, Rachel Emke, a 13-year-old, committed suicide after being constantly shamed and called a slut in her high school. This cannot continue. We need work, commitment for others to challenge this culture and transform the dialogue. To all the women who are doing what they have to survive, to all the women doing what they have to thrive, I honor you. You do what you need to do to support your sisters. We remind them that they are heroes. We are of so much worth. We check our friends and families when they talk a woman down because this is not a game. This is our lives, and these are our bodies.
First off, I'd like to say, aren't we all really, really grateful that we have a Trinity Kitty Chaos in London? So much goodness. Okay, so I actually read this almost this exact speech last year. I was asked to redo the speech because someone liked it. And I added some things, but if you were here last year, hopefully you get as pissed off as I do every time I read it. Because U.S. senators are trying to redefine the rape so it does not include sexual assault under the influence of alcohol or drugs, date or marital rape, and rape with the use of coercion, as they are worried too many women are getting country-funded abortions through the current definition of rape. Because the U.S. has declared war on women's sexual health by dropping funding for women's services. Because in February of 2012, Rush Limbaugh, aka Douchebag McGee, called Sandra Fluke a slut and a prostitute for speaking to the House Democrats regarding mandated insurance coverage for contraceptives. He was quoted in saying, "So Miss Fluke and the rest of your feminazis, here's the deal. If we're going to pay for your contraceptives and thus pay for you to have sex, we want something for it. And I'll tell you what it is. We want you to post the videos online so we can all watch." He's delightful. Because the New York Times described an 11-year-old girl being responsible for her gang rape because she was dressed older than her age, wore makeup and fashions more appropriate to a woman in her 20s. She was raped by 18 teenage boys and men. Because a Manitoba judge did not jail a rapist because the victim/survivor was dressed in a two-top, no bra, high heels, and was wearing plenty of makeup, and stated that the perpetrator must have misunderstood the inviting circumstances. Because the media disrespected the death of a young woman by focusing on her being an escort. Because Miss Universe decided that they have the fucking right to define what it is to be female when they disqualified Miss Canada's Jenna Telekova from the competition for not being born society's definition of woman. Because of the over 600 missing sisters in BC whose lives have been ignored because of society's idea of their sexuality. Because of the 100% cut to the National Aboriginal Health Organization. Women's access to health care is on the line. Because 14 days ago, Rachel Emka, a 13-year-old, hung herself because her schoolmates continuously called her a prostitute and a slut. Girls from her school wrote slut on her locker. She was 13. Because if a woman walks down an alley, or alone at night, had any alcohol, I don't like it, it reminds me of a penis anyways. This exact same thing happened in this exact speech last year. It's too much! I overdo it. I break things. Because if a woman walks down an alley or alone at night, had any alcohol, wore a skirt or any makeup, didn't say no loud enough, was alone, didn't lock her door, let a friend stay over or stayed over to friends, hung out alone with a friend she thought was safe, is a cock tease, aka flirts, dances, kisses, is nice, doesn't have a male protector, was flaunting her lesbian lifestyle, has had sex before, then she should have known better or was asking for it. Because immigrant and refugee women in domestically violent relationships cannot leave their spouses without being deported. Screw you very much, Jason Kenney. Because of Tory Stafford. Because Stephen Woodworth, a Conservative MP for Kitchener, Ontario, introduced a private member's motion to redo the definition of human life, opening up the abortion law in 2012. Yo, douche, if you don't get a vote in women's choices over our bodies, you don't have a twat. You can't have babies. You don't get a fucking vote. Because Grice, a 25-year-old Mexican woman, was deported to her death after her refugee claim was denied twice. Because many trans and queer folks live in a fear of sexual assault being used as a punishment against them for challenging society's notion of gender or sexuality. Because boys and men are taught that they can't be raped, that they can't be pressured to have sex before they are ready, that they aren't really raped if they don't fight back, that they are gay or not real men if they do experience sexual assault. Because jokes about men's rape in prisons and that you can't laughed at. Shame! Because men are deemed players and pimps and women labeled sluts and whores. Shame! Because when we look at the messaging reinforced by the government, the judicial system, the police, the school system, our families, friends, the media, the church, we see survivors being blamed for their experience of sexual violence and next to zero perpetrator accountability. Shame! Because people still ask, why did she walk alone at night, go home with a stranger, go upstairs if she didn't want to have sex, get so drunk, dance on the table if they didn't want attention, wear that outfit, not say no louder, and why doesn't she leave? Rather than asking, what's wrong with the perpetrator? Did the cops arrest them? Are they in fucking jail? When will they be persecuted? Are they likely to get a serious sentence? Is the survivor getting adequate protection? Are the children provided for? Does the survivor need our help? Why is society allowing sexual violence to happen? Why are we not taking action? What is the root of sexual violence? How can I make change in my life to encourage a world free of sexual violence? Because on January 24th, 2011, a representative of the Toronto Police gave a speech in which he stated, women should avoid dressing like sluts in order not to be victimized. For these reasons, and many, many more, we march as survivors and allies in London, Slut Walk, because we have had enough. We march because it gives our spirit something it needs, a reminder that there are others who share our vision of a healthier and more respectful world. We gain strength in our action in our community. The Slut Walk is not about one afternoon. It does not stop when you leave here. It's about living every single day intentionally, being intentional in your body, in your sexuality, in your relationships, in your jobs, about creating change. There are little things you can do every day. If you take action, become an active bystander, refuse to be silent, real change will happen. When we come together and demand to be heard, nothing can stop us. And I have had fucking enough, so join.
And I'm a slut. I'm also a mother. And that's probably the most important reason that I'm here today, because I'm raising girls. And right now they are 15 and 12. And they are going to school with boys who are wildly sexually outrageous with our girls. And we need to continue to build this community of people that they can turn to and believe in. We need to create an alternate media. We need to create an alternate message and say it really, really, really fucking loud. So I want to just say thank you for being here and thank you for helping me raise my little girls.
So we're just about to wrap up and start our march, but before that, I'm going to perform a piece from one of Eve Ensler's works. It's called I'm an Emotional Creature. I love being a girl. I can...
Not as usual, but... So Tanshi, everyone, I'm Oasis, and I just want to start by acknowledging that we're on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Wendat, and Arawandran peoples. Yes. And this is important because when these people were colonized, the centers of their communities, women and two-spirits, were attacked. And the resilience of our peoples has largely been due to the continued political participation of women, clan mothers, youth, and two-spirits. So I wrote this first rhyme I'm going to do for you today to illustrate how we need to demand justice for the over 600 missing and murdered Indigenous women. But we cannot do so without acknowledging that many of these women are sex workers, and our empowerment and solidarity must extend to them. What's your life like, cuz? What work do you do? Wait, I forgot an important part. Your participation. Okay, so you're gonna repeat this one phrase after me. If you have a cunt or a spirit cunt, you can say, I'm in control of my cunt, after I say, I'm in control of my cunt. So, let's just try that one, right? Okay, ready? I'm in control of my cunt. I'm in control of my cunt. Oh, you're all beautiful. Now we're ready. Woo. What's your life like, cuz? What work do you do? How do you play? What are you into? Could you bet me in a minute folks don't judge you? What? I'm in control of my cunt. Who are you to choose how I come? I'm in control of my cunt. What you gonna do with no shame here? Well, what when there's no more sluts to smear? What you gonna do when women appear? Indigenous in the street with no fear. What you gonna do with no shame here? What you gonna do with no sluts to smear? What you gonna do when women appear? Indigenous in the street with no fear. What's your life like, cuz? What work do you do? How do you play? What are you into? Could you bet me in a minute folks don't judge you? What? I'm in control of my cunt. Who are you to choose how I come? I'm in control of my cunt. Over-policed and under-protected, underrepresented and not respected. You can't talk about fighting for justice unless you're gonna listen when I say don't touch this. Missing and murdered Indigenous women. We're here demanding justice for them. We must recognize we need to end violence. Most of sex workers break the silence. What's your life like, cuz? What work do you do? How do you play? What are you into? Could you bet me in a minute folks don't judge you? What? I'm in control of my cunt. Who are you to choose how I come? I'm in control of my cunt. What you gonna do with no shame here? Well, what when there's no more sluts to smear? What you gonna do when women appear? Indigenous in the street with no fear. What you gonna do with no shame here? What you gonna do with no sluts to smear? What you gonna do when women appear? Indigenous in the street with no fear. What? I'm in control of my